Ballot Question 3 seems to be the one thing bringing both Republicans and Democrats together, and even some minor third parties. Why? Because it could overhaul our entire election system here in Nevada. Open primaries and ranked choice voting could completely change the election landscape in Nevada and lessen the power of the two-party system.
Nearly 40% of Nevada voters are not registered to one of the two major parties. That's the largest voting bloc in our state.
The ballot question would amend the Nevada Constitution, meaning if it passes this year, it has to pass a second and final time in 2024. And if that happens, it would be an equally intensive process to reverse.
I don't think the parties want to see change. And I think the parties begin to wonder if they'll have the same kind of control or outweighed influence.
Question 3 survived legal challenges in the Nevada Supreme Court. Now the opposition has to hope voters agree with them. That includes Republicans and Democrats like Nevada Senator Jackie Rosen, who argues Nevada's elections are already open and fair. So many independents in Nevada, do you not think that this is a way to get more people to vote?
We have same-day voter registration. So if you're registered as an independent, nonpartisan, libertarian, whatever you're registered as, you can show up to a polling place and you can change that on primary day. You can change that registration and say, I want to vote in the Democratic primary. I want to vote in the Republican primary.
Minor and third parties also speaking out, calling it a jungle primary that will remove their voice.
Our candidates that we select go directly on to the general election ballot. That will never happen under Question 3. We will be completely devastated.
Many other groups, like the Lit Nevadans Vote Coalition, say the process is confusing and will lead to ballots being thrown out, something that has happened in New York City.
Making them more complicated and more time-consuming for voter participation.
Dozens of cities in 2 states, Maine and Alaska, already have ranked choice voting. In an August special election, Alaska voters electing Mary Patola, beating Sarah Palin, the first Democrat to fill the seat in 50 years, due in part to ranked choice voting.
Because we had ranked choice voting that allowed people to focus on a variety of issues and not get pegged into sort of party politics.
Alaska voters typically vote red, but the ranked choice voting led to politicians agreeing with each other on various issues so that they'd be ranked more highly on ballots. As for the arguments of it's too confusing for voters, Alaskans don't see it that way.
So there's some concern that people would be confused or the delay in the results would, make people suspicious. But what we found out is basically that everybody can rank 4 things and that it's relatively easy.
If this passes, it would take effect in 2026. Supporters say that gives plenty of time to educate voters on the process.
There are currently 3 Clark County School Board of Trustee seats up for grabs in the midterms. The large candidate pool brought down to just 6. And every vote counts. The School Board of Trustees are all elected. They each represent a different region and help navigate policy decisions in the district. Running for District G are incumbent Linda Cavazos and retired educator Greg Weeman. For District D, current school board president Irene Cepeda is up against parent and school organizational team member Brenda Zamora. And in District F, incumbent Danielle Ford is running against former Assemblywoman Irene Bustamante Adams. Dr. Sandra Cosgrove, president of the League of Women Voters Nevada, says it's important to vote in down-ballot races like the trustee spots.
And in the state of Nevada, the legislature oftentimes is in the spotlight because they pass laws and they do the kind of some policy work. But that then gets implemented by the people who are in local government. And so you have to make sure you've got really good people on the board of trustees for the schools so that if we're getting good laws passed to help reform education, those that need to get implemented for them to work. So we need good people who can implement the laws that get passed.
Cosgrove says there are also many issues that make education an important focus in the election.
Exactly. And right now, I live on the east side. We have schools that are almost all long-term subs over here. And so what is that doing? It's compounding the problems that distance learning and the pandemic. We need to have highly qualified professionals in those schools to help get our students caught back up.
As we creep closer to the midterm election, minority communities are doing their part to make sure that their voters are educated and start to mobilize.
Nearly 80,000 people have already voted early in Clark County. And as we creep closer to the midterm election, several minority communities are urging their own to get out and cast their ballot.
We lack representation when it comes to government.
According to the Pew Research Center, 10% of eligible voters in Nevada are Asian. That's why members of the Nevada Asian American Pacific Islander Chamber of Commerce says their community cannot sit back this midterm.
So sometimes people might come here and say, you know what, does my vote really make a difference? Well, here it does. You know, you have a voice and you have to use it.
One of the things we have to be considering this midterm is how it's going to show up in the long term, right?
Showing up at your front door and getting the word out about November 8th has also been a plan of action. 11% of the vote here in Nevada is Black. Leaders say the future is in your hands.
We're in a water crisis. There's some issues going on with our school district, child care crisis. And so if we're not thinking about how our vote matters in the government and in legislation, then we're just short-sighted.
There are 28 indigenous tribes in Nevada and more than 50,000 people who identify as Native American.
The fact of the matter is we are a part of this society. We're sovereign citizens of both whatever tribal nation we're from and American citizens. And so we deserve to have the same collective voice as every other citizen in this country.